Welcome, warriors, archers, shields, and cavalry. I am your knight, now join the crusade, bringing you a one-on-one with none other than the Crusaders. Before we begin, I want to apologize for my absence. It has been like, 7 months, half a year, something like that. If you want the details, they will be in the comments, but I do plan to upload consistently, at least every 2 weeks until I get into the groove of things from now on. And you may notice my mic sounds a little different because I have a new computer now and a new mic, meaning the video quality should be a lot better. I'm hoping that it's not going to be trashy. I'm still working it out with the editing software, but other than that, let's begin. So the other day, I was asked if Crusaders were good, and I was like, well, of course. I mean, I believe they're good, and they do extremely well in combat when I play them, so I was like, yes. But the person I was speaking with called them trash. So today, let's figure out if these knights are really the holiest or just wearing trash cans on their head. As I said previously, these unit guides, the advanced ones, will not be as thorough as the previous ones, as the units can be very similar to the basic ones, unlike some intermediates which have variation. However, we will cover the new abilities and some light tips as well, and as a should you buy, as always. The Crusader is a high damage, heavy sword unit with two notable abilities. The first is Deus Volt, which increases unit damage by 25%, increases penetration, the armor at which it stops armor by 25%, an attack speed increase, and then they increase their armor by 45 from 85 all the way to 130. And then this is active for 15 seconds, but this duration can be extended when a hero kills a unit, which happens very often, especially with weaker units. And then the second ability is Field Rations, which everybody knows what Field Rations does. You pop it, and then all of your units, heal. And from now on, I'm not going to cover, the hero heal, because you always have that with units and stuff like that. Now, obviously, even while not relying on Deus Volt, these guys can pack a pretty big punch. Like, I have been in engagements with other units, even without Deus Volt, I am still out damaging typically. Now there are some exceptions, like Berserkers, they have less armor, but they have more damage, so it's like... however, against stronger units like Berserkers, especially in a 2v1, these guys can die very easily. They have a decent amount of armor, decent amount of health, but if you are going to rush into a Berserker something, or a shield something, 2v1, you're probably going to die. And this reason is why I recommend mainly taking fights either as a support or in a 1v1 that you know you can win where the unit isn't that much stronger than yours. Because Deus Volt can push you over the edge to where you can get that final edge on the enemy that you've always wanted, and so you don't get thrown out in the trash can. Now, against shields, if you take out one or two and you slip through the cracks of their shield wall, then you are going to be dealing a lot of damage. But if they have spears behind them, that can really hurt you, especially with their armor penetration. So, my recommendation, if you're fighting a 2v1, fight a 2v2, or if you're fighting against a stronger unit, fight a 2v1, so that you get that little edge over that unit, and maybe the damage isn't so focused on you, so you can focus on dealing damage without taking nearly as much. Now, as I said, this can fall quickly to things that deal high damage, but can also completely destroy units with a low health because of the Deus Volt being able to be extended, and if your hero attacks and does a lot of damage, then you can take out units pretty easily, especially if you have an upgraded strength stat, which I'm not even going to cover all the hero abilities because I don't have them yet, and I'm making these guides for people without hero abilities. Because it requires a ton of grinding to get those, especially for every unit, so we're going to assume that you don't have those. But even without those abilities, if you just have a level 150 hero, attacking is going to do a good amount of damage to things, especially like rogues and stuff like that. Most people want to just rush in with Crusaders. Like on Thermopylae, they'd want to just rush into the spear wall, and well, that's okay, you're going to die. And even if they have a bulwark or not a bulwark, you're probably going to lose all your units and barely deal any damage. So you either want to distract them, pull a unit away by flanking, or you want to get that good angle on them, like with any other sword unit, to where you can pierce the shields and not have to worry about breaking their shields. And that's why you should not rush in with Crusaders. Some units you can. Some units like cavalries you can probably rush in, but Crusaders are not that unit. Now, you may take out healthy units, like, you might take out a unit of Berserkers if you play well enough, but you are going to take a lot of damage to your unit, even your hero too. And that's why I suggest, if you're fighting a healthy unit, make it a shield. If you're walking up to archers or something, obviously face your backs towards them, just so, most of their arrows will hit your shields. And then shields also struggle to fight Crusaders, especially if, they're missing a unit. If you fit in that crack, then your Crusaders are just going to start going to town, you get a Deus Vult going, you start wiping their shield wall. It's just really good. Now, some of the high level shields, like the Teutonic, might be able to withstand that, especially with their healing ability, but that is just situation by situation, which is what Warlords mainly is. Shields are not going to be a problem typically for you, though. In my own experience, while not in terms of overall usage, it's not the best, but it can be literal game changers. The Crusaders are just really good, well-rounded unit, and if you play Praetorians or Spartans, there is a good likelihood that if your teammates aren't picking up the slack, you might not be able to output enough damage because you are the tank. With any other shield, you might not be able to output damage, but with these guys, they have just the right mix of strength mixed with defense so that you can tank some things and also dish out the damage you need to, and especially with the unit size, there are a good amount of units in this, unlike the hammers, where the hammers have high defense, high attack, but they can get swarmed, which can become a problem. But with the Crusaders, that is not a problem because they typically outswarm the enemy. Now, like I said, be careful of things like Berserkers, be careful of things like 3 blobs or, Claymores, stuff like that. But if you're fighting a 3v3, you are going to deal a lot of damage. If you're fighting a 1v1, you're going to deal a lot of damage. Now, I haven't tested this against hammers, so you might still lose to hammers and stuff like that. But shields shouldn't really be a problem, especially, fighting a 1v1 with a shield, there's not really much they can do. Just don't go jumping into 3 blobs, because if you hit a 3 blob where there are 3 enemy heroes, there's just your unit, you're gonna die. And there's no in between. Well, I hope you heroes across the land enjoyed the first video back, and I'm excited to show more content. To finish off the intermediate guides as well, because I will be doing those. I know I missed 2 of the units. One of them was a spear and one of them was the gun unit, which I have some very strong opinions on the gun unit. I'm going to be making an intensive guide over that, but I'm also going to be telling you where I personally think it's useful. And to close off the video, I'm going to tell you whether I think you should personally buy the Crusaders. And personally, I think the Crusaders are a really good option, especially for your first introduction into the advanced if you're a swords player, because a lot of the other higher end swords are really good in certain scenarios, really bad in others, but Crusaders are about moderate every scenario, and then they have their good scenarios. Obviously there's the bad ones if the people are playing specifically those swords, but a lot of people don't tend to pick up those swords. And also with the extension of Deus Vult, you can get an infinite Deus Vult if you just wipe the floor with an enemy unit, which is always a good thing. Just be really sparing with how you take your fights, and think a little bit before jumping in, and everything should turn out okay. Now, of course, you can always upgrade into others like hammers or something like that, but hammers are not a sword, they're heavy, so you just gotta think about certain things when you're buying in the advanced section, because unlike with the intermediate or the beginner section, you can't just buy the whole set. You have to save up for a little bit if you were playing free-to-play like me and the majority of the community probably is. You are going to have to be sparing where you spend your gold, and especially if you want hero abilities, you're eventually going to have to save for that as well. So just be careful where you spend your gold in the advanced section and do your research into your units. I personally think the Crusaders are one of those starter units that you could see yourself getting into. Until next time, your knight dealing the final blow. and I will see you all in the next video. Hope, and it won't be 6 months out this time.